A large percentage of the movie business's box office revenue and home viewership was driven by consumers of color in 2021. That's according to UCLA's latest Hollywood Diversity Report, which examines the 250 top-performing English language films.
We contract with a company called ComScore that surveys moviegoers when they leave the theater, and they collect information on race and gender and income and things like that. That's how we know who bought tickets.
Ariana DeBose.
Dr. Hunt's team also found that women made up 47% of lead acting roles last year, nearly double the percentage 10 years ago.
In fact, last year, for the very first time in the history of our report series, people of color actually reached proportionate representation. Their share of roles in films matched or was very close to their share of the overall population.
Researchers are wondering if this is part of a permanent trend or largely a byproduct of the pandemic, where streaming platforms prevailed with smaller budget productions that are more likely to have a female or a person of color as director and more likely to have a diverse cast. Hollywood's been criticized for years for lack of equal representation in the entertainment industry. This year's Hollywood Diversity Report by UCLA points at slight improvements for some ethnic groups in certain areas, but says there's a lot of room for improvement. According to the authors, one of the most critical issues is the fact that top executive positions are still largely dominated by white men. April Rain, the founder of the Oscars So White protest in 2015, says the lack of stories by minorities are actually a missed opportunity for Hollywood.
Not only are those stories important to be made, but they make a whole bunch of money, because the more diverse a film is, both in front of and behind the camera, the more money it makes. And we have Encanto and Crazy Rich Asians and Black Panther and so many others to point to.
The UCLA report says Latinos held only 7.7% of overall acting and director roles, less than half of their share of the population. It was also found that none of the top films last year had a Middle Eastern or North African descendant in a leading role. And similarly, Native Americans remain virtually invisible in Hollywood. It is Tianshan, CGTN, Hollywood.